Coming up on today's show, Denny Hamlin continues to put pressure on the Joe Gibbs Racing leadership. Both Connor Zilisch and Kyle Busch will have new crew chiefs next season, and my power rankings are coming up. How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to Talking NASCAR. I'm your host, Andrew, and if you can tell by my voice, I am pretty much fully healthy now. Last time I was talking about NASCAR, I was still getting over my cold, and I still am not fully 100%. I'm probably about 98%, but 98 is closer than 90, I would say, and that's probably what I was at on Sunday or Monday when I talked to you guys last. So today I'm feeling a lot better, and I'm ready to get back to making more content for you guys. We got a jam-packed episode for you guys. Got a lot of news to cover, lots of stuff that I got to break down that previously kind of unfolded over the last couple of days, going all the way back to Saturday. So I got some stuff to talk about here today. I want to quickly start by kind of talking about a report that's a little bit older, but did come into effect today. So RFK Racing has found a new team president, replacing Steve Newmark, who officially announced his role. He would be stepping down from that role to go work at the University of North Carolina. And he has been replaced by Chip Bowers, who officially started today as of time of recording. But Chip Bowers comes into that president role. He brings a lot of experience in business operations and sales in his time working with the NBA, WNBA, and MLB teams. And this is a very pivotal time for RFK Racing. Right now, all three of their cars missed the playoffs, and last year they had both of their drivers win races last year. Only one did make the playoffs, yes, but that was pretty much the same in 2023, where Chris Buescher won 3 races and made the playoffs all in the span of 4 weeks. And last year, Brad Keselowski won Darlington. Chris Buescher won again at Watkins Glen. This year, they're still searching for their first win, but Ryan Preece, Chris Buescher, they were all in that cut line. Brad Keselowski definitely started to improve his performance as the season went on, and definitely Chip Bowers coming in, bringing experience with him, I should say, nearly 3 decades of experience, I should say, in professional sports, will help this team a lot, because right now, RFK is ascending. They are ascending very quickly. Now, over the last 2 years, I should say, over the last 2 years, RFK has kind of maybe plateaued just a tiny bit. Their growth has kind of been stunted, I think. Stunted? Yeah, stunted. RFK's kind of growth over the past 2 years have kind of been stunted. Last year, both their drivers got wins, but only one made the playoffs. This year, none of their drivers made the playoffs, and they did add a third car. So that's definitely something to keep an eye out, but all 3 cars have looked very competitive, and if the win in your in system did not exist, Chris Buescher and Ryan Preece probably would be in the playoffs. At least Chris Buescher would be in the playoffs. Ryan Preece would be on that cut line battling with Ty Gibbs, Kyle Busch, and several other guys. So RFK is still very, very good. They've kind of plateaued over these last 2 years, but I think adding Chip Bowers now will help that team truly reach their full potential and potentially compete with Penske or another Ford team for the number 1 Ford team tier. There'll be a tier 1 Ford team, because I think right now they still might be a tier 1 Ford team. They obviously make their engines for Ford. Roush Yates engines come out of RFK because Jack Roush, very well known, very good relationship with Ford. So RFK is a tier 1 organization alongside Front Row Motorsports. I believe does have an alliance with Penske, and then Penske, of course, is also a tier 1 Ford organization as well. So RFK adding Chip Bowers should help them in the long term. And the reason I'm talking about this new president hire for RFK Racing is because we got some more information on the Rick Ware Racing and Legacy Motor Club settlement. Now, for those of you who aren't aware, if you listen to one of my previous episodes on this show, I talked about how Legacy Motor Club and Rick Ware Racing settled their dispute, came to a settlement to end their racing trial, and I saw a lot of people saying that settlement. Wow, what a concept. I think NASCAR in 2311 and Front Row Motorsports should really think about that and kind of learn that concept. Anyway, I thought that was kind of funny. But yes, Rick Ware Racing and Legacy Motor Club have settled their lawsuit, come to an agreement. And at the time when I talked about that news on this show, I didn't have very many details. Since then, I've listened to a couple other shows, a couple other podcasts, and gotten some more information. So, as far as I know, according to some other reports, Rick Ware spoke to the media and said that they did come to an agreement on a charter sale, and Jimmy Johnson actually made a appearance on a podcast as well, owner of Legacy Motor Club, Rick Ware, owner of Rick Ware Racing. Like Jimmy Johnson on that interview talked about how he planned on having a third charter for, at the bare minimum, 2027. Now, Jimmy did say in that interview that getting a charter now for 2026 this late in the year would take a lot of work and may hurt the team overall next season, because then you'd have to scrap up a driver, scrap up sponsorship, you'd have to get resources very, very quickly, you'd have to find a crew chief, you'd have to find a lot of things. Now, getting one for 2027 allows them to fully prepare, get another year with Toyota under their belt, because this year is only their second year with Toyota. Last year, 2024, was an absolutely miserable season for Legacy Motor Club. This year, we're starting to see John Hunter Nemechek and Eric Jones take some steps forward. John Hunter Nemechek has really emerged this season as almost the leader of Legacy Motor Club on the track, at least. I feel like Eric Jones might have taken a back seat to John Hunter Nemechek here. Sorry, guys, I'm struggling to speak here, but you're gonna have to bear with me here. But on track, it does seem like that John Hunter Nemechek, more often than not, is outrunning Eric Jones. I mean, we saw at New Hampshire, Nemechek was making his way forward before he spun out entering turn 3 and had a pretty significant crash. Eric Jones did not finish inside the top 20, so John Hunter Nemechek on track has been leading the way for Legacy Motor Club. And there's been a lot of talk recently about Legacy Motor Club as we've gotten closer to the date of this settlement. Is Legacy Motor Club going to merge with Haas Factory Team to acquire that third charter? Those rumors died down. Were they going to get that third charter from this lawsuit for 2026 from Rick Ware Racing, which it does sound like they did. But again, since we're so late in the year, we're in September, there's not a lot of time for this team to fully prepare for next season with that third charter. And there's a lot of rumors that Jesse Love could be that driver. Some other drivers could be possible landing spots for that team. Daniel Suarez, I think, was mentioned as well. So a lot of stuff went on, but now we know for sure that Legacy Motor Club will at least have a charter for 2027, a third charter, I might add. So I think that we'll kind of wait to talk about who could potentially be behind the wheel of that car. Toyota's obviously got a lot of names. Jesse Love has been mentioned as well. He's part of the Chevrolet camp, but it does look like now he will be returning to Richard Childress Racing next season. Even though he does have some ties to Toyota, he was a Toyota development driver. He won the ARCA Menard Series Championship with Toyota in 2023 before moving up to the Xfinity Series with Richard Childress Racing. But they as well have William Sawalich. Brent Cruz is coming up through the ranks very, very quickly. I could see him potentially being a guy that at least inks a part-time schedule with a Toyota team. And who knows what will happen with 2311 Racing beyond this season. What happens with that lawsuit? Could Bubba Wallace, Riley Herbst, Tyler Reddick all walk from that team if 2311 Racing loses the lawsuit? Same with Front Row Motorsports. So that's all on the table. And I think we'll cross that bridge when we get there. So that's all we really know for right now. Another thing I want to add real quick before I move on. Rick Ware, or actually I should say the president of Rick Ware Racing, I believe is Tommy Baldwin Jr., did say in an interview after this statement went public that Rick Ware Racing will run the 51 car full time with a charter. So that is going to be very interesting. And we all know right now that Rick Ware Racing is leasing a charter to RFK Racing. That's kind of why I talked about RFK's new president, Chip Bowers, to get this episode underway. But RFK will be leasing another charter from Rick Ware Racing next season. I believe it will be the current charter that the 51 car of Cody Ware is racing under right now, while Ryan Preece's car, the number 60 car, that charter will be transferred back to Rick Ware Racing for Cody Ware to use next season, because under the new charter agreement, you cannot lease the same charter to a team 2 straight years. So that will kind of happen for next season. My only question is when 2027 comes, what will Rare Racing do? They will have no charters. Will they just completely bow out of the sport? I mean, we saw TJ Pusher, who is formerly of Spire Motorsports, one of their founders. He's been a part of several charter sales, and he's taking control of the team next season. I mean, could this mean that TJ Pusher may look to sell out at the end of 2026, look to sell that charter to RFK, or is RFK going to have to get that third charter somewhere else? Or could Dodge, when they enter the sport possibly in 2027, could they potentially open up the room for those 4 new charters that NASCAR has set aside? Remember, I've talked about this before when talking about the antitrust case. NASCAR has 4 charters, Charter 37, 38, 39, and 40, set aside, and NASCAR said that those charters will be ready and unlocked potentially when a new manufacturer enters the sport. And Dodge, with Ram, will be entering the Truck Series next season on their kind of road to return to the Xfinity O'Reilly Series and the Cup Series potential years down the road. So this could potentially be the window that RFK looks for to expand to Dodge and get that third charter if one of those 4 charters does unlock. So just a theory. I know Jack Roush, again, has some very close ties to Ford. So I imagine it would be kind of hard, but Jack Roush, a little bit older now, kind of fading away from the ownership. Brad Keselowski has some ties to Dodge, won a championship back in 2012 with Penske with Dodge. So Brad Keselowski, now the guy that has kind of taken over the brand of RFK. His name is on the race shop. It's RFK Racing, Roush Fenway Keselowski Racing. He's going to have a say in it. So a lot of things can happen down the road. So again, we'll cross that bridge when we get there, but a lot of big things could be happening as a result of this settlement. And I don't see those being this year, but potentially years going forward. Moving on, though, let's talk about crew chiefs. Earlier today, it was announced that Connor Zilisch will have Randall Burnett be his crew chief for 2026 when he drives the number 99 car next season for Trackhouse Racing. And immediately when I saw this announcement after I got done with school today, I saw that Randall Burnett had been hired by Trackhouse to crew chief for Connor Zilisch, and I thought, wait, Randall Burnett pairing up with a young road course racer in the Cup Series. Wait, he did that already with Tyler Reddick and Richard Childress Racing. Obviously, Tyler Reddick and Randall Burnett were together in the Xfinity Series when Tyler Reddick won his championship, I believe, back in 2019. And they moved over to Richard Childress Racing together and came up to the Cup Series together in the 8 car. And in 2022, Tyler Reddick broke out, won 3 races on road courses with Randall Burnett as the crew chief. And I can see Justin Marks kind of leaning into that kind of narrative. Randall Burnett, good with young, inexperienced drivers who need seat time, who are very good at road courses. That sounds like Connor Zilisch to me. Overall, for Connor Zilisch, kind of running quickly here, I like this move. Randall Burnett, like I said, worked with Tyler Reddick when he was young in his career, helped him develop, helped him win several road course races in 2022, albeit Richard Childress Racing did help originally design the next-gen car and got to test those original designs out. So when that car first came out, it wasn't a shock that Richard Childress Racing was able to win 4 races that season. And in 2023, when Kyle Busch hopped over with that 8 car, they won 2 races, or actually 3 races, in that first half of the season. So for Connor Zilisch, this is a good move. You bring in an experienced veteran crew chief who knows how to work with young kids who need experience. This is a good move for Connor Zilisch, and the expectations still remain the same, I would say. Connor Zilisch, if he's going to make the playoffs, he will need to win a road course race, but as well, he could potentially get a shove on a super speedway at the right time to capture a win. But going forward, it does look like that he will need to beat his teammate Shane Van Gisbergen on road courses to make it to the playoffs, and that's what Justin Marks is really looking for here. He did the same thing with Shane Van Gisbergen, promoting him to the Cup Series, and what has he done? He's won 5 road course races. I think 5 road course races, right? I think he's won 5 road course races. Unbelievable what Shane Van Gisbergen has done, but that's what Justin Marks has done. He's brought in guys who he knows he can win on road courses and make it to the playoffs. He's doing the same thing with Connor Zilisch and Randall Burnett here. For Randall Burnett, this is, I would say, a really good career move. Trackhouse has kind of plateaued, kind of similar to RFK in my opinion. They do have Ross Chastain in the playoffs still currently. Shane Van Gisbergen obviously made the playoffs as well with winning all those road course races. But for Randall Burnett, you're getting an opportunity with a young, inexperienced driver who you can help develop and work with for potentially a couple years. I would say at least 2 years, possibly 3, maybe 3 at like bare minimum. He would be working with Connor Zilisch as he continues to adjust to the Cup Series. And you're also going to a really big branded team. I mean, Trackhouse has got a MotoGP team. They raced in IMSA at the 24 Hours of Daytona, the Rolex 24. They've done a lot of stuff. I mean, Trackhouse, they've have development drivers at Connor Zilisch. They brought over Shane Van Gisbergen. They have Daniel Suarez still on the team, and he has a big market in Mexico. Shane Van Gisbergen has a big market in Australia and New Zealand. Connor Zilisch has this big season in Xfinity right now with the best car, yes, but it's still very impressive what Connor Zilisch has done. So Trackhouse has a lot of big brands with the team. They brought in Red Bull. They have a lot of stuff going on there. So this is a really big opportunity for Randall Burnett to potentially improve his stock, potentially to get new jobs elsewhere if he does flame out at Trackhouse, if it doesn't work out, or if Connor Zilisch and Trackhouse want to go a different way from Randall Burnett. This is a really good opportunity to kind of prove himself, I would say, in my opinion. And yes, he and Kyle Busch have struggled over the last couple seasons, the last 2 seasons, maybe 2.5 seasons, I would say. And I don't put that on Randall Burnett. I think Randall Burnett is a really good crew chief. I don't know if he was necessarily the right fit for Kyle Busch, but I think he will be fitting better with Connor Zilisch, who's a little bit younger. And I'll get to Kyle Busch in a second. So I don't put the struggles that the 8 car has had with Randall Burnett. I'm not going to put that on him. I'm going to put that more on Richard Childress Racing and ECR overall. And I'm not going to put that on Kyle Busch either. So I think Randall Burnett is a very good hire for Trackhouse and especially for Connor Zilisch. Now for Kyle Busch, I think this was to be expected. This was something that needed to happen. And I've seen a lot of people say that the 8 team needs to change something. And I think this is the change. Bringing in a new crew chief for next season, replacing Randall Burnett. Again, I don't think Randall Burnett was the problem at Richard Childress Racing. I think that's more things internally with the team and overall how the shop is run, how the cars are put together, what resources they can use. And that's definitely not on Kyle Busch. But something needed to change. And realistically, how much can you change on the inside at the race shop when it's so easy to replace a crew chief and get a new face and a new voice on the pit box? I mean, what are you going to do? So I think Kyle Busch getting a new crew chief next year could potentially help. He'll be heading into a contract season. This will be a big year for Kyle Busch. Does he still have it? Can he still win and compete at a high level? I think Kyle Busch can compete at a high level. I think he can win. It's just RCR isn't the best fit right now. And the reason he didn't leave is because the market for new rides this year wasn't very open. I mean, the 99 car, but Connor Zilisch was already there in-house, so Trackhouse wasn't going to go pay Kyle Busch. I mean, Rick Ware Racing, maybe, but that's clearly a downgrade. Point is, there weren't many more opportunities for Kyle Busch, so that's why he's staying with RCR. So getting a new crew chief should help. And I've compiled a list of 5 different names that I believe could be potential candidates for Kyle Busch's pit box next season. Starting with Justin Alexander. Justin Alexander used to be Austin Dillon's crew chief. He was Austin Dillon's crew chief last year when Dillon won at Richmond and made the playoffs, or not made the playoffs, but got the win at Richmond. And Justin Alexander has been very good as a crew chief. He's a little bit older, and RCR has pulled him out of semi-retirement a couple different times. I believe right now he's working as the technical director on some degree in RCR. So I don't know how much he would want to come back down on the pit box and travel around the country for 40 weeks working on that 8 car, being a crew chief again. But you never know. RCR has pulled him out of retirement before and put him on that pit box before. So I wouldn't entirely rule it out, but Justin Alexander could potentially be a guy on the pit box next season. Another guy is Andy Street. Andy Street right now is the current 3rd car crew chief. He crew chiefs the number 33 car that Austin Hill has been driving in select starts this season. He worked for Austin Hill's team in the Xfinity Series last year in the 21 car, got the promotion to crew chief RCR's number 33 car. And as well, I believe he's been working on the technical side as well in the shop on the Cup Series side as well. So Andy Street, another guy that's in-house. I don't know how good of a crew chief he is. I mean, he won a lot of races with Austin Hill, so I mean, I think he's pretty solid. I think that speaks for itself. It's pretty solid. He's won several races with Austin Hill in the past, so that definitely puts him up as a pretty qualified candidate. I don't know if Andy Street is my first choice necessarily, but if you're going to go with someone in-house, you might as well get someone like Andy Street who wants a promotion and someone who may be more eager to hop on the pit box rather than someone like Justin Alexander. But you never know. The next one is Matt Swiderski. Obviously now the crew chief for Daniel Suarez in the 99 car, but with Connor Zilisch and Randall Burnett coming in. I mean, I would assume that he doesn't have a job there right now. Again, probably not my first choice. Matt Swiderski, he got a win with AJ Allmendinger at the calling team in the number 16 car, and that's pretty much to the extent that he's been crew chiefing. That's pretty much all he's got on his resume, I would say. I mean, I don't have their resumes up right now, but as far as I know, that's pretty much the only thing that Matt Swiderski has to his name. So Matt Swiderski wouldn't be my first choice, but you never know. Could be a guy that probably just wants another opportunity in the Cup Series, and I think he would take this job at RCR. So we'll have to wait and see, but Matt Swiderski is another name. Another guy, maybe a little bit out there, but Brian Patty, the crew chief for the number 7 truck for Spire Motorsports. Now, you might be thinking, whoa, Brian Patty, where did this guy come from? Now, just hear me out. Kyle Busch has driven that 7 truck for Spire Motorsports, crew chiefed by Brian Patty. Brian Patty also has some experience in Cup Series. He worked with Ricky Stenhouse Jr. on that 47 car when the team was still JTG Doherty Racing. So Brian Patty has Cup Series experience. He's worked with Kyle Busch in the Truck Series in select starts. So I think Brian Patty could be another candidate that may fly a little bit under the radar, but I think Brian Patty could be a guy that could potentially want another Cup Series job, and working with Kyle Busch, he's done it before in select cases. You never know. And the final guy I have to talk about and mention here, obviously, is Rodney Childers. I mean, Rodney Childers was talking about it on X. I talked about it on this show that Rodney Childers does want another NASCAR opportunity, and I think this could be a really good spot. I mean, this could be his door back into NASCAR. I mean, realistically, Richard Childress won't want to fire Rodney Childers midway through the season like he was at Spire. And yes, Rodney Childers with Kevin Harvick wasn't as dynamic as he was before the next gen car, but even still, Rodney Childers is very, very good. He's a very well-respected crew chief. He has a lot of knowledge. And Kyle Busch, veteran driver, lots of respect among the drivers in the garage. Yes, they may be both a little bit stubborn in some cases, like Rodney Childers maybe hasn't fully wrapped his head around this next-gen car. Kyle Busch hasn't as well, but the amount of experience you would have on the pit box, and I think that's really good. And Rodney Childers and Kyle Busch were rivals for at one point, so that could be a little bit of friction, but I think that with friction comes sparks. And I'm not going to say that like it's my quote. Someone else said that before me, and I'm kind of taking it from them. Sorry. But Kyle Busch needs a spark. That whole A-team needs a spark, and I think Rodney Childers, even though he may not be the guy that produced the best results out of the 5 that I just mentioned, I can't see how bringing in someone with his experience wouldn't light a fire or bring some motivation or bring something new to the table to help kick that team back into gear. So Rodney Childers could be another candidate for that 8 car. Let me know down in the comments who you think could be the crew chief for Kyle Busch next season. Could it be someone I'm not thinking of? You're going to have to let me know down in the comments below. All right, moving on now. We got to move on to one more thing. My power rankings are coming up very, very soon, but we got one more thing to talk about. We have to once again circle back to New Hampshire, to Sunday, to talk about the Denny Hamlin and Ty Gibbs controversy. Now, Denny Hamlin, Ty Gibbs got wrecked by Denny Hamlin heading into turn 1, but Gibbs raced Hamlin and Christopher Bell very, very hard, and Gibbs, a non-playoff driver, Hamlin and Bell, both in the playoffs fighting for a championship, both fighting for their first championship, and Ty Gibbs was racing both of them very, very hard, and Hamlin came on the radio and said, "Why is Ty Gibbs racing us so hard? Doesn't he know we're racing for a championship?" To Gibbs' credit, though, he had just been put in a 3-wide battle with Bell and Noah Gragson and said, I'm not taking this anymore. I'm not taking this stuff anymore. I'm going to race them hard. I'm not giving anything. I'm not giving any edge to anybody, regardless of my teammate. And I said it on Sunday. I talked about it then that Ty Gibbs, they're racing for 11th. Gibbs, Hamlin, and Bell, they're racing for 11th. If this was like a top 5 position, like, yeah, I would understand if Gibbs is racing for that position really, really hard. I don't think he was better than Hamlin or Bell, especially not Bell, who went on to have the best finish out of all the Joe Gibbs Racing drivers. If that was for a top 5 position, Gibbs could have easily been saying, hey, I'm not giving you guys an inch. But since it was racing for 11th and the two drivers trying to pass you are playoff drivers and they're your teammates, I feel like you got to go easy on them. And when Gibbs was asked by Kim Kuhn of NBC after being released from the infield care center, he had no comment on the questions about the incident on track and said that he would simply move on to Kansas. He was excited for Kansas, so we'll see how this unfolds. And I didn't talk about this on Sunday, and I'm going to talk about it now. After the race, on pit road, Denny Hamlin and Joe Gibbs, the owner of Joe Gibbs Racing, were asked about the incident and gave their thoughts on it. Hamlin, to sum it up in my words, simply said, I want the leadership to step in. I want them to step in and set the rules so we don't have this stuff to go on. And it's unfortunate that it did. While Joe Gibbs said that he's putting it on the drivers. They're the ones driving the cars, so I'm going to put it on them to self-police on the track and potentially on pit road. So that was something interesting. You have Denny Hamlin, the oldest driver at Joe Gibbs Racing, saying that he wants the leadership to step in to talk to all the drivers, not just him, not just Ty Gibbs, but all of the drivers, and set the standard for the team. And that's kind of what he would echo on his podcast, which I'll talk about in just a second. While you have Joe Gibbs saying that the driver should be the one to self-police and set the rules and know how to race and set the rules, like I just said, and keep everything moving forward the way they should. Now, today on Denny Hamlin's podcast, Actions Detrimental, Hamlin once again spoke about this incident and pretty much said the same thing as he did on Sunday, putting it on the leadership. He would say, quote, what I want to happen is leadership to step in and tell us, what do you want us to do? If you want us to all just to race each other cutthroat, no matter what your position is in the stature of the standings, we can definitely do that. Like I expect myself and the 19 and the 20 to race really, really hard because we're all battling each other to get above this cut line or maintain our status above the cut line. If I get eliminated or the 19 gets eliminated or the 20 gets eliminated, and then we've established this no rules, you guys just do what you want to do. None of us are going to win. So again, Hamlin is pretty much saying, I want the leadership to set the rules and set the boundaries of what the drivers on track should do and what they should not do. Here's kind of what I think about it, though. I think Joe Gibbs is right. The drivers should be the ones to self-police on track. However, I think that if there are no rules set or no statutes in place to enforce on track by the drivers, then what's the point? Like Hamlin said, if you have this no rules, you guys just do whatever you want to do, rules out on the track, they're not going to win. It's just not going to work that way. So all in all, in my opinion, I think that some boundaries should be set for the drivers of Joe Gibbs Racing, and actually not just for Joe Gibbs Racing, for all teams, the owners or the president or the competition director, whoever's giving these rules, they should give something to say, hey, this is what we want you guys to do out on track, and this is kind of where we draw the line. You can't do this. We want you to do this without crossing this line. And on track, I want you guys to self-police and hold each other accountable. I think Hamlin was trying to do that in a way when he made contact with Gibbs. Now, I don't think Gibbs had to be wrecked for Hamlin to get his point across. I think there was something better you can do. You could use him up off the corner or give him a bump down the straightaway, kind of run him harder than what Gibbs is doing. You could do something like that, but you don't have to full on wreck him. And as for Ty Gibbs, and Denny Hamlin said this on the radio, like he was asking if people are afraid to talk to him, if they're giving him too much leeway. Now, Ty Gibbs, entering his third season in the Cup Series, has not had the easiest road to get here. Like, I know his grandson owns the team, but before getting to the Cup Series, he had to deal with his father passing away before he won the Xfinity Series championship. He won all those ARCA races and won all those Xfinity Series races en route to winning the Xfinity Series championship. So Ty Gibbs has been very, very successful in all he's done pretty much, but he's had a lot to deal with, stepping into a role with a lot of pressure, replacing Kyle Busch after he left for RCR, and trying to deal with the fact that he doesn't have a dad with him on Earth at this point. So Ty Gibbs has dealt with a lot, and I think it's fair that JGR and everybody there has given him leeway, but we're in year 3 now. I feel like those limits and those kind of, I don't know, limits or statutes or kind of everything you had in place beforehand with Ty Gibbs, I think it's time for those to change. Like, Ty Gibbs hasn't won a race yet in 3 seasons of Cup Series opportunity. I think it's time for everybody at Joe Gibbs Racing to start holding Ty Gibbs more accountable and hold him to higher standards. But that's my opinion. You guys are going to have to let me know down in the comments what you think of this stuff, all these quotes that Hamlin said, all the things that Joe Gibbs Racing said, this whole incident overall. What should the standard be for Ty Gibbs at Joe Gibbs Racing? You guys are going to have to let me know down in the comments. One more thing before I move on here. I guess it's clear to me now that, and everybody I should say, that not everybody respects Ty Gibbs inside the building. Like, I don't know how many people really respect him inside Joe Gibbs Racing, and I wonder what this incident will do to him. And him being the grandson of the owner, I don't know what that does, but clearly there is not a lot of respect for Ty Gibbs inside Joe Gibbs Racing, so I thought I'd close on that here. But with that all being said now, it is time to move on to the final segment of today, my annual NASCAR Power Rankings. Every week, I go in and rank the top 10 fastest drivers and teams in the NASCAR Cup Series. This week, nothing really changed. With the playoffs now in full swing, I think we all know who the fastest drivers and teams are in the Cup Series. But I do have a name dropping off and a new guy coming in and a couple guys moving up and down the power rankings. So let's see where your favorite driver ended up on this week's power rankings. Quick little spoiler alert for all you guys. The driver that's not in my top 10 this week is Tyler Reddick. Had a really rough race after qualifying really well at New Hampshire, but 3 straight races of kind of meh overall, and New Hampshire was a little bit more of a rather than a meh. So Reddick, that was the one thing I was worried about heading into the playoffs. Can he be consistent? And so far, outside of Darlington, he's not been very consistent and hasn't had that consistent speed. So Reddick, not on my top 10 this week. But back inside my top 10 this week is Carson Hurricane Hocevar. Now, Hocevar has been pretty solid over the last 2 weeks. Bristol was able to save his tires exceptionally well. I thought Hocevar would be one of those guys who would wear out his tires very, very quickly, suffer a couple blowouts, spin out a couple times, but no, he was able to save his tires very effectively and make them last over a long run and still have really good speed. Got a really solid finish last week, and this week at New Hampshire had some really good speed as well. Ran up inside the top 10 for a majority of the stages early on. Fell outside of the top 10 as the race went on, maybe because he was losing a bit of patience there. But still, overall, Hocevar had a really good last 2 weeks, and I've been very impressed with the speed and tire conservation that he's had. And heading to Kansas, they are debuting a new right side tire compound, so I'm very interested to see what the tire wear will look like heading into Kansas and what this may do for Carson Hocevar. So 10 Hocevar. Moving on to number 9, I've got Bubba Wallace. Man, Bubba was climbing up my power rankings really, really well. He was up to 6 last week, and if you just need another good finish at New Hampshire, and he might be up at number 4 or number 5. But this week, Bubba's back down at 9. Finished 26th at New Hampshire, just completely missed the setup. Toyota overall was not very impressive, not as effective and quick as we all thought they would be at New Hampshire, but Bubba got off to such a good start in the playoffs. But Bristol last week kind of showed a little bit of cracks in the armor. Now this week, we're really seeing some big time skin overall under the hood of that number 23 car. But heading to Kansas, 2311 Racing has been very good there in the past. I'm just not very confident in that team to win the race like we do expect them to do, or at least contend for the race win. But I do have faith in Bubba Wallace being at least semi-competitive, or to the bare minimum, competing for a top 5 run at Kansas. So Bubba at 9. Moving on to number 8, though, I've got Christopher Bell. Led the way for Toyota. He's won there at New Hampshire in the past, but still only got an 8th place finish. Not very impressive, but Bell, as the playoffs have gone underway, he has definitely started to pick up his pace and performance. Will we get back to the 3 straight wins and 3 straight weeks Bell that we saw early in the year? I don't know, but one thing is to be sure that he's going to need to lead a lot more laps and get a lot more stage points if he does want to compete for that championship. So Bell at 8. At number 7, I got Chase Elliott. Got a top 5 at New Hampshire. Him and Alvin Gustafson played the strategy really, really well. Elliott was able to slowly and methodically move his way through the pack and use some strategy to get that track position. Was able to hold on to it for the most part, but I do have him moving him down, mostly because he didn't get as many stage points or lead as many laps as his teammates that are above him. I was kind of holding firm on Elliott for a while, but this is the week where I say, okay, I think I have to lower him because he's not clearly a top 5 driver right now. But heading into Kansas, I could easily see Elliott moving up a couple spots because he might have had the best car at Kansas in the spring before the pit crew gave it up. So I do like the direction that Elliott is heading. He's been very, very consistent all year, but it's a matter of, can he truly shine in the big moments? We'll have to wait and see. But Elliott at 7. At number 6, I got his teammate of William Byron. Got some stage points at New Hampshire. Ran up front for a good majority of the race. Got another solid finish as well. This was the first time since Iowa, really, that we've seen William Byron kind of have a good race. Didn't do it at Darlington. Gateway was kind of underwhelming. Bristol wasn't that good. And again, Iowa was the track where he really, truly got back to form, but that might have just been a one-week wonder. But right now, Byron has taken another step forward. Heading into Kansas, I'm not so sure about, but Hendrick Motorsports has been good there. Kyle Larson, his teammate, has been very good there in the past. Elliott's been good there over the past couple seasons. So I do like Byron overall as a driver. Again, similar to his teammate Elliott, can he move forward when the lights are brightest? We'll have to wait and see. But William Byron at 6. At number 5, I got Joey Logano. Had a top 3 finish at New Hampshire. Top 5 finish, I should say, at New Hampshire. Had a really good run at Bristol last week, and Gateway finished inside the top 5 as well. Logano has truly stepped it up, and if you can't tell, the playoffs are underway. Logano's doing really, really well. If you aren't aware, that's kind of the lore around Logano. Sucks in the regular season, picks it up once the playoffs are underway, and he's just good enough to make the playoffs, but picks it up when it gets underway. But Logano's been very, very good as of late. Led the most laps at New Hampshire. Heading to Kansas, a little apprehensive. He hasn't been very good on mile and a half, though he did get that win at Texas to get him into the playoffs. So I shouldn't maybe really totally rule out Joey Logano because anything can happen in the playoffs. But Logano at 5. Moving on to number 4, I got Denny Hamlin. Hamlin at New Hampshire was kind of underwhelming. Didn't get a top 10 finish when we all thought he and Toyota would be really, really well. Got into it with his teammate Ty Gibbs, caused that big controversy that we already talked about. Hamlin just didn't have a great weekend. Didn't qualify particularly great. Did qualify inside the top 10 though. I should point that out though. He did qualify pretty well, but just didn't have race winning speed like we thought he would. And Bristol last week wasn't particularly great. He did win Gateway though and ran really well at Darlington, so he did have a really good round of 16. Just hasn't quite carried over yet into the round of 12. But heading into Kansas, he does have that crew member suspension starting up, but Kansas is the track where Hamlin has won at in the past. He's won there several times over the last couple of years, and at the bare minimum, he's been competing at all the races there. So Hamlin, he's been very, very solid at Kansas, gives me a little bit more hope heading into the rest of the round of 12. So Hamlin at 4. At number 3, I have Chase Briscoe. Moved down 2 spots, mostly because he did finish 10th though, but he had to use a little bit of pit strategy to get that track position like Chase Elliott, and unlike the 9 and the 21 of Josh Berry, could not quite hold on to the same track position, so didn't quite have the speed in that car, even though that 19 car has been very, very good at New Hampshire over the last couple seasons. And again, Toyota just wasn't that good at New Hampshire when we all thought they would be. But Kansas, is kind of a wild card for Chase Briscoe. I don't really know what to expect from him. I expect him to be competing for a top 10. I don't know about a win, though. So Chase Briscoe at 3 feels pretty good for right now. He's still got a lot of speed in that car. It's just a matter of what he's going to do, because I really don't know heading into Kansas. At number 2, though, I have Kyle Larson moving up 2 spots after being in 4th last week. Larson, for just a brief moment in New Hampshire, when he took that lead from Joey Logano, that kind of looked like the dominant Kyle Larson that we knew. He did lose the lead and never really could get it back. Didn't have the best car, I would say, by far. But Larson, he's been starting to heat it up as of late. He's been kind of building momentum little by little, inch by inch. I'm liking what I've seen for Larson. And same with Hamlin heading to Kansas. He's been very good there in the past. Was part of an incredible photo finish with Chris Buescher, I believe back in the spring 2024 race. He was in contention at the fall Kansas race as well. So Larson heading to Kansas, I really like the speed. And at New Hampshire, we saw a lot of speed out of Kyle Larson. So I like it overall for the team, the number 5 team heading into next week. But at number 1, though, it's Ryan Blaney moving up back into the number 1 spot after being so close, being at number 2 for so many weeks. And actually, it was just 2 weeks. He was number 1 at Darlington, after Darlington, I should say. But Blaney obviously won New Hampshire, had the best long-run car. He's been just so good at so many different tracks, showing that he is very, very versatile. He's been good on mile and a halves as well. He's been probably the best Penske car on mile and a halves, best Ford car on mile and a halves, I would probably say, maybe outside of maybe Brad Keselowski or Chris Buescher or Ryan Preece. I've been really liking Ryan Blaney so far in the playoffs. I obviously picked him to win the championship, and heading to New Hampshire, or after New Hampshire, heading to Kansas, I'm feeling really, really good about that pick. But Ryan Blaney at number 1. There's a look at your top 10. Once again, it's Ryan Blaney at 1, Kyle Larson at 2, Chase Briscoe at number 3, Denny Hamlin at 4, Joey Logano at 5, William Byron at number 6, Chase Elliott at 7, Christopher Bell at 8, number 9, Bubba Wallace, and number 10, Carson Hocevar. But let me know down in the comments what you thought of these power rankings. Let me know who should be on this list, who maybe should be on this list. Should Tyler Reddick still be on this list and Carson Hocevar be off? Let me know down in the comments. He heads to Kansas next week. Should be a very interesting race, and I could see these power rankings shuffling a little bit once again. But that's all I got for you guys today. Hope you enjoyed this episode. If you're listening on YouTube, please like and subscribe to the channel. If you're listening on any of the other podcast platforms, please consider giving this show a follow and maybe giving this a 5-star rating. If Spotify does that. I think Spotify does 5-star ratings, right? I think so, at least. I know Apple Podcast doesn't. There's been a couple 5-star ratings on there from you guys, so I really appreciate it. And again, if you are listening on YouTube, go check out Talking Sports with Miles and Andrew. And if you're listening to this show, go check out Talking Sports with Miles and Andrew. It's the other show I co-host with. We talk about sports just broadly overall as a group. I co-host it with my friend Miles. Put a lot of good content out there over the last couple days, so go check it out. And go check out some of the other episodes on this show of Talking NASCAR if you want to hear some other thoughts about the Denny Hamlin and Ty Gibbs controversies, like right after the race happened and right after that controversy happened. So go check it out if you want to hear that. And thank you so much for listening. I'm Andrew Volkman. Thank you for tuning in to this episode of Talking NASCAR. And I will see you in the next episode. Have a great day, everybody.